Yes, this is required when we are transferring the data from the system. Not like C maybe from ERP. If at all. If any Windows is created and we need to migrate it to Ariba, maybe this is one of the format. Yes, this is basically for migration or for manually managing mass updating data. All these activities are performed through SM administration. Normally when you're loading the supplier database also in initial stage, like I mentioned yesterday. Suppose you are already having a relationship with the supplier, so it is not fair to ask to go back to them and asking them whether you are in the industry. What is your name, and that will not make sense and it is not more required. You are doing the relationship last couple of years. So for that case, so when you're sending, this is the place where you are going to input the suppliers and their itself in the qualification. You can mention them whether he's a registered or a qualified or a preferred. So, using that update, automatically, the supplier will be loaded using preferred supplier or whatever the status which we are mentioning. When you go and see the degree profile status will update it as a qualified, but you will not see the process template like the previous example. And I'm trying to load a preferred supplier. It is not allowing to me because that was loaded through a batch file or a data file. So this is the format which is giving me. I need to enter ERP vendor ID. Supplier name. So system. Suppose you're having multiple system integrated, from which system this data is coming. First name of the supplier. Last name country. Yeah, we are unable to see that. Sorry, I'll be sharing that. So what I loaded is just a supplier contact file. So in this case I know when the right to say this is the field which is showing ERP, vendor, supplier name, source system, last name, telephone number, mobile contact time zone, etc. So here generally we'll be adding vendor, for example Ariba vendor XYZ. So then in the contact page, here you have to render is like. We have the number convention in ERP system. Is it the same number or we need to match it to Ariba like it's a ready to go? Yeah. So ERP vendor ID is basically when you have done an integration. So at the time of Ariba loading. So the system will not know whether Ariba supplier or not. So you'll be having data from your vendor ID or the file is coming from your external system. That is the reason this vendor ID you need to enter. Suppose you created the data in Ariba. Only then you will be seeing with the name called vendor ID 12345. But if it is coming from your ERP generally, you will be saving S00124. Maybe your vendors are created in this format, or mostly you will be having number in sequence only. So maybe 4 series vendors or 2 series, when in that case you need to enter 20001, whatever the relevant vendor ID. If it is created only in Ariba, you will be finding VDR. If it is created from external. So external ID only will be entering. You will be entering relevant information and then in the contact page, where you will be creating the email address of the supplier. And you need to mention whether it is a primary supplier or not. So this activity will also help you in one more method. You can also export this data. Whatever currently available in your system, you can also export, also by clicking on this task exported successfully. So the first one is a sample file. Second one is a data available in your existing data, available in your Ariba system that I am exporting now. We will get the format how we can use. Yeah, both I will be showing. So now the file is ready and we'll be downloading it. Contact export that CSV. Once I open this, this is the file. You can see this. So this is the vendor ID, as I mentioned. This is integrated ID. So you are getting external ERP ID. So whatever, it is mentioned here. Also, you can see supply name. So, wherever it is supplier management or spin management, you're seeing the number of media wherever integration has happened. Then you will be seeing sourcing system and SAP. Okay, now suppose you want to add one more contact. So what you will be doing? By just clicking Ctrl plus adding a row. Copy this entire data and come here and update the fields. So first name, Ariba seller. Ariba seller at gmail.com English true. You need to have only one primary. So in this case he is not the primary, I'm just removing it. Whether he's active or you are making active, whether that active contact or not. You found from the supplier and the supplier that person has left. Other salesman left. Then you can remove this as well. Then communication will not be sent to this particular contract. You can prepare the take our sample, Ariba seller. Yeah, tell me. Yeah, if it's like sometimes, if anything changes, like any field, we are going to introduce new field. So we will be adding that in random master. It's like newly. So instead of going. Yeah, go ahead. So maybe in running, like in running, where we will be having more than 2,000 suppliers, maybe within 2 years. And it is very difficult to go and update the supplier manually. So will. This sheet is the effective way to update that machine. Yes, it's correct. So you rightly cast it. Instead of entering those details one by one, this is the best way to load the contacts in directly. Not only contacts, and we do have one more sheet. Like primary details. Something like that. So if any change in that data maybe. For example, we have 5. Ariba is the dynamic. Suppose some new field is added, that will feel as if we shown here, because you are exporting the data. So that means already you have established so that field will be visible in this file itself. While exporting that field to be added in the export file also. How will we do that? Because that is something that is a dynamic integration, only when you are adding a new field. So into the supply database. During that time you will be doing all those testing and validation. So then, Once you perform activity, maybe that time itself will be adding to the existing supplier, whatever that field is required. If it is not there, also in the file. So when you are uploading also you will be knowing the field name. Mostly, whatever the fields created custom, they will be having CUS and field name. Maybe reference the idea of something like that, so you can add that field and enter those values. Also, maybe you are maintaining some more system. SAP MDM G123 Master Data Governance.